Okay, plagiarism. Set it up for us. What happened, Ryan?
So Kamala Harris wrote a book when she was district attorney called Smart on Crime.
Yes.
She had a co-author on it.
Okay.
I can't even remember the guy. OC something. Can't even remember the guy's name or the person's name. So Chris Rufo ran basically the book through plagiarism detection, and also gave it to like the guy who's known as like the plagiarism hunter, and this Australian guy. He found a bunch of evidence. We can put this first element up on the screen.
Yeah, put it up on the screen,
he found, you know, a ton of evidence of plagiarism.
Yeah.
What we'd understand as plagiarism. Like some of the most hilarious examples would come from John Jay. So John Jay College put out a press release about a program that they were doing. It's like a 200 or 300 word press release. And the guy or the person, the author, clearly just copied and pasted the press release, dropped it into the text, and did not put it in quotes. Sometimes what happened in a lot of these examples, there was a citation, like according to John Jay College or according to whatever. You're still supposed to rewrite the words.
Yes, that's like, exactly right. For anybody who's ever been through a college writing class. What's crazy to me is, quote, stole long passages directly from Wikipedia. Not only assumes the online accuracy, but copies its language, quote, nearly verbatim without citing a source. That's pretty bad. That's like, as if any college freshman, I wouldn't know if you would get expelled over that, but like you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a little talking to from your professor.
And the other bad stuff is that they noticed that a lot of the plagiarism that the book does comes from the Wikipedia footnotes. So it's either Wikipedia itself, and so you can just tell how the research is being done. All right, reading here. Right. Oh, I don't want to copy from Wikipedia. Let me click on the footnote here. I guess it's
somewhat relatable, and then, right? To anybody out there who's ever had to do it. But look, it's obviously a terrible look. And even in terms, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, fundamentally, substantially, like, do either of us care that a ghostwritten book was plagiarized? I think we probably don't. Like, we have probably such a low opinion of our politicians.
Correct.
That
I mean, you and I both know the inside process. I know multiple politicians. I know the people who actually wrote their books. Right. Just so people understand.
Those are the people.
I have a little bit of familiarity with the process. I literally have friends who have written politicians' books. It's kind of funny.
And most politicians, I don't know about most, lots of politicians don't even read.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The book, let alone having had a hand in actually writing it. Now, it's still Kamala Harris's responsibility.
That's true. Your name's on the thing.
She put her name on the book, and she did not put the fear of God into the ghostwriter to say, don't plagiarize any of this and get me in trouble 20 years later when I'm running for president. So therefore, like, she is responsible. I also don't care. What I do care about is the media's response to this, and particularly the New York Times, which has been the worst offender in response to it.
Yeah.
So notice the headline: conservative activist seizes on passages from Harris' book. So the story.
Well, we know you got to read the subhead too. Yeah.
A report by Christopher Rufo says the Democratic presidential nominee copied 5 short passages for her 2009 book on crime. A plagiarism expert said the lapses were not serious. So starting with the headline, what they focus on is what Chris Rufo is doing, which isn't the point. Who cares? Like, who cares what Chris Rufo is doing? I don't care what Chris Rufo does all day long.
What's the story?
It only matters if he gets something right. Chris Rufo seizes on lots of things. Should it be a headline in the New York Times every time Chris Rufo seizes on something?
Absolutely insane.
So it's already slanted to begin with. Like, either the Times should write an article about it or not. And if they decide to write an article about it, the article should be that, whether or not is there plagiarism in the book. The subhead, which you're picking up on, to me is just, it's offensive. Clearly they're trying to minimize in that subhead 5 short passages. So by saying 5, that's already wildly wrong. Like, there's a whole bunch more passages that they found. By 5, they're trying to narrow it to one little thing. By short, they're trying to minimize the kind of intellectual crime committed there. And then a plagiarism expert said the lapses were not serious. That plagiarism expert has now come under fire and has said that the New York Times only shared with them a couple of the excerpts, not all of them. And so they cannot be, they should not, they're saying, look, don't use me as a shield here.
Yes. What's so stupid about it, we had a joke back in my Daily Caller days about any time that we would report something, the headline would just be conservatives pounce on X, Y, and Z. And you're it'd be like conservative pounce on Harris plagiarism accusations. Whereas, let's say it came from like where you used to work at the Huffington Post. They'd be like, HuffPo reveals Harris plagiarism, right? And it's like, look, it's a very subtle form of media like bias, but it's also a little bit ridiculous because as you just said, Ryan, you and I work in the news business. The headline here is Harris plagiarism revealed in 2009 book.
Right.
And then you cite where it came from. You can even add all this BS about some plagiarism expert who said it's not that bad. Fine, you know, all of that is color and you should be filling out the rest of your paragraphs. But at a very basic level, it's just very telling that their news judgment is conservative activist seizes on passages from Harris book. It's like out of a meme of what the actual thing is. And then if you read that subhead, it says, copied 5 short passages for her 2009 book. A plagiarism expert said the lapses were not serious. So what do you take away from it? It's a conservative hit piece, and it's actually not that bad. How many people actually read the story? Very few. So the headline, the subhead, you know, in the news business, that's just kind of how it works, is all designed to convey fundamentally a partisan message in what is supposed to be a news story. Right. That's the problem. That's media bias in a nutshell. That's how it works.
Yeah, but if you read the story even, they continue to sort of basically play defense for Harris. They say the passages called into question by Mr. Rufo on his Substack platform, which is a little dig. Substack
Yeah, Substack. Yeah, there you go. I like that. Love it.
Involve about 500 words in the approximately 65,000 word, 200-page book. So what they're trying to say is like, it's tiny. Don't worry about it. Now, like we're up to like a dozen or so. It's like the 5 isn't even right. 500 words of plagiarism that's several pages. Like it's like a decent amount of plagiarism. And then they say that she wrote the book with another author. Fair. That's her best defense. And in a review of the book, the Times found that none of the passages in question took the ideas or thoughts of another writer, which is considered the most serious form of plagiarism. Instead, the sentences copy descriptions of programs or statistical information that appear elsewhere. So, okay, fine. Yeah.
Right.
Just say that. Like instead of this, like this relentless kind of minimizing and defense of it, or just don't write the article. I don't understand why the New York Times feels like they have to write I guess they felt like there's under so much pressure they have to write the article.
Yeah.
But then.
I agree with you. Why even cover it? That's just news judgment at that point. They had 3 reporters on the byline. One of them is the college, and look at a structural level. It's kind of sad because you have the college and university journalist, correspondent for the New York Times, who is now underplaying plagiarism. So is that really who you want covering college and university issues? This is why they shoot themselves in the foot when they try and go in some half direction, and why everyone is better off with just straight up news from these outlets. Just report it. But as you just said, most Democrats are just going to ignore it. It will be a talking point by Trump or J.D. Vance. But at the end of the day, is the election going to turn on this? No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is. Like sometimes when you think about it, Biden's 1988 campaign was sunk on plagiarism accusations from when was it, his law school days or something?
No,
what I forget.
It was even better.
Yeah.
So he was plagiarizing his stump speech.
That's what.
And
it was.
his
that's
bio.
Right. That's right. Yes.
That's why.
Yeah,
that's why it was so damning. It was this Neil Kinnock, the Scottish populist politician, and Biden stole the Scottish politician's backstory.
Yeah.
There were a couple times where Biden accidentally said that his family had been working these hills for thousands of years. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. We're pretty sure, that, or maybe it was hundreds of years, whatever it was hilariously impossible for this Irishman to talk about Scranton that way.
Incredible.
Or Delaware. You haven't been there for that long. Yeah. Then it turned out that he cheated in college and lied and plagiarized.
Okay, so it was about a pattern. Fair enough.
Yeah, but it was his stump speech and his bio. If it wasn't, it's like, okay, you plagiarize how John Jay describes a program. That's funny. You plagiarize somebody else's bio and apply it to yourself.
No, that's absolutely
hilariously ridiculous. But for me, the New York Times should just take the L. Like, Times, you didn't plagiarize.
Yeah, exactly. It's not an L because you're not supposed to even be on a team. You're just supposed to cover their campaign.
It's dumb. Her co-author screwed up. She never read the book. Rufo caught him.
Yeah. You got him. Dead to rights. It's over. Yeah, just write the story and move on.
Now you extend it and you make it actually interesting to people like me.
Yes, who are like, wait, why are you incapable of saying, yes, this is obviously
and then the right, which is already skeptical of the New York Times. And while we're on this, control rooms, I think it's D6.
Oh yeah, can you pull that over, guys,
which
please?
Is actually more relevant to this block. So the Times is involved in this other kind of scandal here, which is a completely manufactured scandal. So basically, they ran an opinion essay from 65 doctors who have served time at medical facilities in Gaza, saying that they had observed a pattern of the IDF sniping children in the heart and in the head. And they included 3 X-rays, CAT scans that immediately sleuths on Twitter used their armchair expertise to say were incorrect. The Times then reinvestigated everything that they'd been given by these doctors and put out a very strong statement that said, we checked the metadata, we gave these X-rays and CAT scans to new independent doctors. We also have photos of these children in question that match the CAT scans. We are not publishing the photos because the photos are too gruesome of these children. And also, people were like, a bullet hitting a head, it would have shattered the skull all over the place. It's like, these are children who lived. Like, that's why they're in the hospital. So, like, stop with your armchair.
Oh, like, I did see some of this. There was some, like, listen, I never know. I don't know enough about ballistics or bullets or any of this other stuff.
You know enough to
get involved.
Like,
I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I saw somebody who was like, oh, it doesn't comport. I'm like, yeah, maybe, doctor says this and that. And then, I saw that and I'm like, okay, well, another doctor, a bunch of the people who signed it were like, no, this is actually a systematic thing. I was assuming to get published in the Times that there was some level of due diligence.
Huge amount of fact
especially for something like this, right? Which is going to ignite a firestorm. And then they came out and were like, no, we think it's true.
Yeah, and so what's interesting to me about this is who the Times feels compelled to respond to. So for whatever reason, they felt the need to write this weird story about the plagiarism allegations and then write it in the way that they did. Then when it comes to some Twitter cranks who were calling into question this article that they thoroughly vetted, they feel the need to do a quick independent
I see what you're saying.
Investigation.
Basically pro-Israel lobby. Yeah, exactly.
The pro-Israel lobby comes at them. They feel the need that they better defend their stuff, and immediately they're out with this very thorough statement. You know what? Good for them, but I wish they would do that all the time.
I see what you're saying.
With their infamous Screams Without Words investigation that came out December 28th of last year, which was alleging that they had uncovered systematic use of sexual violence by Hamas on October 7th. An extraordinary claim. Within hours, people were casting doubt on that and finding that, like, people in the story had contradicted themselves in previous ways. Within days, there were articles written about that report. They didn't feel the need to respond to that at all. It was only until months later, when The Intercept came in and did a much more thorough, not more thorough, but did our own investigation, and eventually got a spokesperson for one of the kibbutzim on the record. That then, okay, and they gently update their piece to say, okay, this part isn't true.
Just incredible.
But it felt no need to respond the same way that they did to these Twitter cranks who were doing trutherism around CAT scans. So just, New York Times is such a mess, is the point.
Well said, Ryan. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for having me, Ryan. I enjoyed being here. It was fun.
Thank you.
You guys are going to do a great job with Desert Klein.
I'm not leaving this seat when Emily gets back.
Okay. Hey, Crystal and I switched sides. People freaked out about it. Honestly, get over yourselves, okay? Sometimes it's more comfortable, sometimes it's fun. Maybe we'll switch sides again. You know, do whatever we want around here.
We sit where we want.
Yeah, exactly. What's the point of being your own boss if you can't do it? That's the whole point. All right, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. And I will see you all tomorrow.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.